Hi, this is Dustin with Dustin's Dollars. Today I'm going to be talking about AITX's recent announcement of a 50 unit order that they received. And I'm going to be talking about some of the obvious benefits, some of the less obvious benefits and implications of this, one potential negative from this, and then some outstanding questions that I still have that honestly, if somebody could point me to information, I would love to find out. Before I begin, let me remind you that I'm not a financial advisor or a financial professional of any sort. All opinions that I express in this video are mine and do not represent those of any company or any other individual. I currently do not hold any position, long or short, in AITX. I do hold a long position in Nightscope, which is a competitor to AITX. And AITX is on my watch list at this point, for full transparency. So basically, this video should be for your entertainment purposes only, because I could be wrong about everything I say in this video. You need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. So, first off, congratulations to AITX and AITX holders. This is a huge order for the company in terms of the intrinsic value of the company. This was a major positive on balance, right? There's no, it's fantastic. I'm talking about this today because I received a couple of comments, both in public and in private, talking about this and asking about a couple of different aspects here. And so I wanted to, sort of give my thoughts here, since I did actually receive a number of people prodding me about it. And, one of the questions that I will try to give at least my guess on is, why the stock didn't pop up, in a huge way, right? This is a big announcement, and I think it was on Thursday here, if you look at the chart. And I think this was the pop that you got from, just looking backwards at the 5-day chart, from about 0.136 to, 0.142. And that's a pop, don't get me wrong, and the market's been tanking overall. So, in context, that's good, but it's not the, maybe 20% move that some people would have been hoping for. And so I wanted to talk this through here. So first of all, what exactly was the order? Just real quick, in case I imagine most folks who are watching this already know, but the obvious benefit of this and from this order, right? This was a 50 unit order, 50 RAD devices, and it was comprised of 44 ROSAs and 6 AVAs. And this was through one of their dealers, DSI Security Services. I do not know anything about them, but they say that they're a very large security company, 4,500 employees, more than 100 million annual revenue. So it sounds quite large. And this is, one of many dealers that AITX, and we see these announcements on a semi-regular basis. AITX signs up these dealers, and this was a sale through one of those dealers. And the end user for this, they said, is a global leader in the transportation manufacturing industry with a presence in over 60 countries. And that these particular devices are going to be used at 5 of their manufacturing, service, and distribution centers. So that's pretty cool. And if we do the math here, I do not know how much I don't have firsthand knowledge on how much their products cost. I found this Reddit post from a year ago, and I do not know if this is current. I don't know if it was even accurate at the time. This is from the AITX subreddit, and my guess is that these are probably, even if they're not correct, in the ballpark. So if I'm incorrect, if I'm way off base, please let me know in the comments. Please point me to, an updated resource, and I'll be sure to, pin a comment that corrects this information. But if you do the math on this, let's see. So we can do this real quick. If you have 44 ROSAs, that's $33,000 a month. And if there are 6 AVAs, that's $8,700 a month. Add that 33,000 back on, and we're talking roughly $42,000 per month in revenue. Multiplied by 12, we're talking $500,000 in revenue per year, if these are the rentals, I assume. And so that's actually let me put a pin in that just for a second, because it is something I want to come back to and talk about. But overall, this was 50 devices. If you are wondering how many devices they have today, at least in their most recent 10K, they reported they have 250 devices somewhere in here. Sorry, devices as of May 2022, so fairly recent. Total devices deployed is approximately 250. So this 50 here would represent a 20% increase once deployed. And of course, they do still need to fulfill the order. And this is one, potential just issue is they did also mention the same 10K, and I covered this before, that they're starting to feel the impact of supply chain constraints, and that would be one issue here. Everyone's dealing with that, so hopefully they can get through that and deploy it quickly. But one thing that's let's start at slightly less obvious benefits on top of obviously the revenue that they're getting from this one deal is, of course, there's an expansion opportunity just at this particular company, I have to imagine, because this is a company that has a presence in 60 countries, presumably have more than 5 facilities at which these AITX's products could be used and provide value. And if it goes well at these 5 facilities and they save a lot of money, I have to imagine that that's actually a really great opportunity just still within this one company that they've already sold 50 devices to. And so that's actually really powerful. That's huge for the company. But some other sort of less obvious qualitative benefits that I took away from seeing this order is, number one, this is very, very clear evidence and validation of the thesis that there is a need for large deployments, right? That they are actually deploying 50 of these devices at 5 different sites or 5 different facilities, however you want to say it, within this one company. And, they didn't state it here, but I think the implication is that there is potential additional sites, and, this could become, within the company, like their preferred security solution and their preferred security vendor. And so that's pretty interesting, pretty exciting for AITX. I think another major implication for me, and this gives me some, it was an unknown to me, and this is a good validation here, that these dealers that AITX is signing can actually result in significant sales for the company. And so that is a huge positive for the company to actually see one of these dealers come through with their largest order from, I think, their largest order to date. I guess I'm not 100% sure, but they say at least a large order from this. I thought they said maybe the largest order to date. Anyways, I don't want to waste your time quibbling over that, but it's a large order nonetheless, and that they got it through one of these dealers does imply that they could get more from other dealers. Because there's always some of these questions in terms of what is the exact incentive structure at these dealers, right? Which I'll get to that in a moment in terms of the outstanding questions that I still have. But one of those outstanding questions really is, when AITX makes a sale through one of these dealers, what's in it for the dealer, right? How are they being cut into this? What is their incentive structure? And that was something that I kind of wondered when you see a bunch of these dealers getting signed, but it didn't, at least I hadn't noticed. Granted, I don't follow the company super closely. They're a bit on my watch list at this point, but not. I have no position, so I don't follow as closely as I do some other stocks. It was not obvious to me if these dealers are going to come through and that they're actually incentivized to make a lot of sales and benefit AITX. So this was good to see. It was good validation that actually can happen. And one other potentially obvious, potentially not obvious bit here is that this was evidence that there's someone within this end user was convinced that there's significant value for these devices. Presumably they ran a pilot, or if they didn't run a pilot, they saw some pretty convincing demos of the functionality, and they said, yes, that is solving our problem, and is solving our problem that we have not just in one facility, at 5 different facilities, that we have faith and that we'll go ahead and order 50 units. And, those are all positives, major positives for the company. Again, I think this is great. Now, on to the one potential negative that you have out of this. And this is sort of maybe a tactical type thing, but if you look at, because I had this in my head, I've covered this in the past, the compensation plan, the 2021 employment agreement with the CEO, he had these objectives laid out, and he's met a good chunk of these. I think he's met all of these, other than the one that we'll talk about today, and some others that were all based around the share price of the stock. And today we're going to talk about objective number 9 of the 9 objectives that were listed in this compensation plan. And this is that RAD receives an order for 50 units from a single customer. And that just happened. And so what does it mean? It means that the CEO will be awarded 500 shares of Series G preferred stock. What is Series G preferred stock? If you are unfamiliar with that, Series G preferred stock can be redeemed for $1,000 in cash at the company's option, I believe, is the Series G. Oh, this is going to take me forever to find the right reference here that actually describes it for you. Let me see if I can find this really quick. Well, here's one where you can actually see what happened the last time where the CEO met some of these objectives. The company issued 1,500 shares of Series G preferred stock, which are redeemable at the company's option at $1,000 per share. And so they recorded $1.5 million of stock-based compensation at that point in time. And during that year, and actually we know that it was happened in the same quarter, the company did go ahead and redeem those shares for $1.5 million and accrued $479,500 as incentive compensation plan payable with a corresponding recognition of stock-based compensation due to the expectation of additional awards being met. So they already had this set aside, it looks like. But they actually are talking about it now, right? And so it wasn't a cash expense until this actually gets issued and then gets redeemed. And so I think there's also, I'm not sure that's in the 10K. I recall reading this somewhere, and I could be wrong, but I think the company also gross ups these options, meaning that they also increase the amount that is paid for the taxes that are paid on this. If I recall correctly, I don't know if it's in the 10K. Gross up. Nope, it's not in here. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't see here. I'll have to, if somebody really cares, ask me in the comments, and I will dig it up if I can find it, or let you know that I must have been wrong on my recollection here. I could be thinking of something else. But again, this is $500,000 of cash, presumably, as soon as these are redeemed by the company. And as we saw in the past, in Q3 of 2021, see if we can find the consolidated statement of shareholders deficit. We can see that this is the column is for the Series G preferred stock. Scroll on down here, between August 31st, 2021 and November 30th, 2021. Again, this column here is for the Series G stock. We can see that 1,500 units of the Series G stock were issued, and then they were redeemed for cash. So if we look at past history to extrapolate what will happen in this particular instance, it looks like, again, just going off of the past, that those will be redeemed immediately for the cash. And so that would be $500,000 of cash from AITX at a time where they are not particularly flush with cash. Now, this does get me on, and so that's a potential negative. That's what I'm just calling out here, that at a time when the company doesn't have a lot of cash on hand, this could actually be one more source of cash going out the door. It is, again, up to the company's option, but the company is controlled by the CEO as well. And again, looking at the past, they were redeemed within the same quarter that they were issued. So that is a potential negative. Now, there are some other uncertainties for me, and I touched on some of these before, but one of the huge ones is this announcement doesn't say whether these are sales or rentals, as far as I can tell, unless there's some code in here that when they say, that there's some particular wording here that implies one or the other. It's certainly not obvious to me. And I think there are major implications if these are sales or rentals, right? And I've talked about this in the past, where here's my my chart of their quarterly revenue broken down between the rentals and the direct sales. And you can see the blue here are the rentals, and then the incremental amount of red that you see here, the area of the red, is the amount of direct sales that they had in that quarter. And you can see the direct sales go all over the place, right? They're up some quarters and down other quarters. It's very spiky. Their rentals are the ones that sort of have grown over time at a fairly steady rate. And that's, again, sort of the same the same economics of other companies where they sell a service and they can expect on this a sort of sticky revenue. And it's an unknown if this particular large order, 50 units, was a direct sale of 50 units, or if these are the rentals that they're provided as a service. Because the two implications for this are number one, what does it mean for their future quarters, right? Is this a one and done? And hey, they're going to book a ton of revenue in this particular quarter, but in all future quarters, like they're at the mercy of whatever additional sales they can get. Or is this a rental? If so, then we can expect, sort of a tick upwards this quarter in those rentals, but for that tick upwards to remain over time as they are still providing that service to the customer. So that's a big question for me. And they do call it out even in the 10K, and I don't know if I could find it, where they expect different profit margins. 75%. Yeah, so they're expect to earn over 75% gross margin when it's under subscription, and when they sell the units, that usually limits the gross margin to the 50% range. And so I think that's your screen is overlapping with the picture. Please remove. Oh, hi. I am sorry. That's if you just mean my actual picture, I can make it smaller. Let's see. Is that better? Sorry. I still was trying to stay on the screen at least at some point. Hopefully that did what you're looking for. I try to put the main content that I'm trying to cover in the middle of the screen, so my face doesn't occlude it. Hopefully that's better for you. If I misunderstood what you're saying, please let me know. But I do think that's a valid question of if these were under subscription or whether they were just outright sales, because it has major implications for what their margins were on such a large order, and it has implications for, what does this mean for their future quarterly revenues. And as I sort of alluded to before, one of the other major questions that I have, and I don't know if they would make this public, I know for sure Knightscope doesn't make this information public, and that is, what incentive do they give to these dealers, for selling these, right? What cut do the dealers get? What commissions? I know Knightscope doesn't make it public. I follow them a little more closely, and I've specifically asked them, and they said, well, they didn't give me an answer. They gave me a wishy-washy answer that told me nothing. And I don't know if AITX makes this information public somewhere or not. I'd be really curious to find out, but I think that's also a very valid question, especially if a large part of the investing thesis in AITX is that that they have signed up a lot of these dealers, and that in the future there could be a steady stream of sales coming in from these dealers. It really matters in terms of the profitability for AITX is what's in it for the dealers, right? How much are they taking away from these? And for that matter, do the dealers have different incentives to make outright sales versus sales under subscriptions? Like, that's also a valid question when that has implications for what AITX's margins are. Yeah, so that's most of what I wanted to cover today, and some of those questions and some of sort of the meeting that objective and potentially being $500,000 in sort of cash implied by the Series G shares that will be awarded because of this order might explain some of why the stock didn't pop up 20%, even if this order represented roughly a 20% increase in their devices. So that is my best answer for those of you who have asked me. And I know maybe that was too long-winded for you, but I mean, I think there is a lot to consider here. Now, none of that would really, not none of it, but the issue about those Series G shares and the cash out the door, that's a one-time thing, right? If tomorrow they make another 50-unit order from this dealer, from another dealer, that doesn't matter anymore, right? That's all just a brand new order. And I think that would be, I have to, again, can't predict the future, but that would seem to me to be even a more positive piece of news for the stock. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, I think there's at least one person on the chat, McNeil United Enterprises. I don't know if you have any comments or questions that you wanted to ask at this point. That was everything I wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna hop off if you don't have anything. For anyone else, while you maybe think about that, because I think there's a delay here in the live stream. For anyone else who's watching this, I do these videos as live streams almost always. I've missed some days recently, but I try to hit Sunday through Thursday whenever my life allows it. I'm usually on somewhere 9, 10, 11 p.m., sometimes midnight Eastern US time. And I'm happy to have folks on the chat. If you're not watching this live and you want to leave comments below, I do try to answer those. You can also check, and this is where I got a couple of the comments that prompted this video. You can also check on my YouTube channel profile thing. You ought to be able to get my actual email address from there, and you can send me a message on there if you don't want to make a public comment. Although public comments, are appreciated, so we can all benefit from the discussion. Other folks can chime in. Okay, I do not see anything else on the chat, so I'm gonna hop off. Thank you, McNeil United Enterprises, for chiming in. Appreciate it, and have a good one.